What's going on, guys? Thank you so much for tuning in to Late Tubes. Today's video, we're going to be going through every single team that's in playoff contention right now in the Western Conference and be labeling their biggest X Factor players. I put out a poll earlier today, guys, that was, asking whether or not you wanted to see the West or the East first, and you guys, a majority voted the West. Tomorrow, I will have the same video going up, but it'll be on the Eastern Conference teams. We're going to be talking about 8 teams today. We're not going to be talking about the Minnesota Timberwolves or the Oklahoma City Thunders because I do not think they are going to make the playoffs, even though they may be in the play-in. However, if they prove me wrong and make the playoffs, you guys can all make fun of me for it. That's fine. We're going to be going in order from 1 to 8. So without further ado, the first team we're going to be talking about today and their biggest X factor is the Denver Nuggets. And I think the biggest X factor on the Denver Nuggets is Jamal Murray. This season, Jamal Murray is averaging a little over 6 assists a game, which is the most he ever has in his NBA career. I think if the Denver Nuggets want to make a very solid run during this postseason, they're going to be needing Jamal Murray to be that definite number 2 option. I think if you guys remember back to the most success this core of guys has seen, it was obviously in that bubble run, and everyone was dubbing Jamal as Bubble Murray. And obviously there was a little video that was going around at that time that's, not here nor there, but I digress. Jamal Murray just needs to be averaging around 25 points and 6 or 7 assists a night, and I feel like that's the minimum come playoff time. Michael Porter Jr. was originally going to take this spot for me, but I really do feel like Jamal is, deserving of being dubbed the X Factor. I think Michael Porter, when he gets minutes and when Mike Malone is actually playing him, he has proven that he's more than capable of being the perfect 3rd or 4th option on this team, someone who's able to sit in the corner, knock down those threes, whether they're in transition or setup passes from Nikola Jokic or Jamal Murray. I just think the success of this Denver Nuggets team is going to be very highly based on Jamal Murray. I think we all know what we're going to get out of Nikola Jokic, especially come postseason. He's going to be great. He's going to be solid. I think a lot of these role players, they've been there. They've done this before. They have some playoff experience. There are some new pieces to the team, but all in all, Jamal Murray, he is going to have to be balling out this postseason if this Nuggets team has any hopes of going far in the playoffs, because in the Western Conference, there is a ton of tremendously talented guards. And like I said, there needs to just be a concrete number 2 option for this Denver Nuggets team. The second team is the Memphis Grizzlies, and for me, the biggest X factor is Jaren Jackson Jr. Originally, I was going to say Tyus Jones, but just like I said with Michael Porter Jr., I think Tyus Jones has really grown into that role of being an amazing backup point guard, making every possession matter. He's a great facilitator. He's a great three-point shooter. But for Jaren Jackson, I really think the Kings, or not the Kings, my apologies, I really think the Grizzlies are going to need to know if they're going to be getting the version of Jaren Jackson that fouls out 20 minutes in the game, or the version of Jaren Jackson that can be a lockdown defender in the perimeter and then average around 20 and 12. Obviously, like I've said this in my videos before, that Jaren Jackson looks like a superstar when John Morant's on the floor. Last night, we saw a little bit of that in that game against the Pelicans. He finished with 35 points and 4 blocks as well. Jaren Jackson is an incredibly gifted young talent in this league, and I think this Memphis Grizzlies team, if they are going to want a shot at making it far in the playoffs, they're going to need to have Jaren Jackson on their A game, especially, and I mean especially, if Jaren Jackson and Anthony Davis are matched up in that first round. You can't have Anthony Davis down there bullying and just absolutely tearing apart your interior defense. I think Jaren is without a doubt the X factor for this Memphis team. As for the Sacramento Kings, I think the biggest X factor is Keegan Murray and Harrison Barnes. I couldn't really decide between the two of these guys. I think Kevin Huerter is going to play amazing when the playoffs starts. I think De'Aaron and Sabonis, they're going to be great. But overall, I think Keegan's going to need to continue with that efficiency that he has been blessing the Kings with this entire season. And I think Harrison Barnes needs to be the vet in this locker room, one of the only guys on this team that has really adequate playoff experience. He's going to need to rally the troops, if you will, and show them how it's done. Obviously, Harrison Barnes has had a couple finals trips in his short NBA career. I think Harrison Barnes, or not short, I should say, but relatively speaking, I think Harrison Barnes is a very gifted player. He's a great 4th or 5th option on this team, and I really do think that he is the X factor for this team. As for the Phoenix Suns, I think DeAndre Ayton and Chris Paul are the biggest X factors for this team. Originally, I was going to say Kevin Durant. I know what kind of version of Durant we're going to get, but are we going to get that version of Durant at all if he keeps staying injury prone? That's kind of my thing with that. But with DeAndre Ayton, it kind of plays hand in hand with Chris Paul, just because of the fact that if DeAndre Ayton isn't getting those touches, he's not going to be very productive. And that's the biggest issue I've seen with DeAndre in this Phoenix system, is that he's not getting enough touches in this offense. They'll give him 4 early touches in the first quarter, or he'll score 8 points going 4 for 4, or he'll go 4 of 6 or something super efficient, and then he's not getting those same touches until the fourth quarter. You can't expect anyone to stay in a rhythm, so I'm pinning it on CP now that he doesn't have the scoring load on offense to get his big man involved. I mean, Chris Paul is historically known for turning mediocre centers into all-star big men, and DeAndre Ayton is definitely no mediocre center. I just don't think Monty Williams runs enough plays for him. I don't think, as great of a coach as Monty is, I just really think DeAndre is going to need to get involved in these series, because in the playoffs, you're going to need your big riled up. When he's at the free throw line, when he's going for offensive rebounds, when he's got to get putbacks. These are all things that your big man needs to be doing, especially in a heavily mid-ranged involved game like the playoffs is. The pace of the playoffs is completely different from the regular season, and that's why I think DeAndre and CP are the biggest X factors. As for the Los Angeles Clippers, I have Paul George and Russell Westbrook as my biggest X factors. Paul George, I feel like it goes without saying, you guys kind of tore me a new one when I left him off. The people that have the most playoff pressure, I feel like, people kind of clown on Paul as playoff P, this and that, yada, yada, yada. I think Russell Westbrook, though, is the biggest X factor for the reasons that he changes the pace of this team completely. You're seeing a lot more open looks in transition without having to call plays like Ty Lue loves to do. Russell Westbrook has done a tremendous job helping this team out. Last night in that game against the Lakers, he looked really great. Ivica Zubac and some of the other role players on this Clippers team are X factors as well. Honestly, this Clippers team, it's just so polarizing. It's really hard to get a feel and kind of, see how they're doing. But the Clippers, they looked pretty good. I think Westbrook and Paul George are without a doubt the X factors. Next, we have the Golden State Warriors, and I think the biggest X factor is Jordan Poole. I feel like it goes without saying that Jordan is such an up and down, polarizing, confusing talent in today's NBA. One game, he looks like the actual third Splash Bro, and he looks absolutely amazing, insanely gifted, great handles, great shooter in transition, great shooter off the dribble, great spot up shooter, you name it. Jordan Poole, he looks absolutely amazing. But there's other games where he's completely inefficient. He turns the ball over a lot. He doesn't share the ball. He doesn't, pass the ball. Like I said, does not share it. I think Jordan and Draymond have a lot to prove this, postseason, especially with Draymond coming up on that contract extension. Klay Thompson as well is coming up on that contract extension, but I think Klay Thompson will be, I'm pretty optimistic about the way Klay is going to play. I think he'll be all right this postseason, but I think Jordan Poole, without a doubt, is the X factor for this Golden State Warriors team, especially with some of the reconstruction that this roster has seen. At the current 7 seed, we have the Los Angeles Lakers, and I think Jared Vanderbilt and Austin Reeves are the biggest X factors. I think Jared Vanderbilt has done, I'm stuttering trying to find a word for it, because I think what he's done for this defense is insurmountable. Same with the offensive and defensive glass. Especially when Anthony Davis isn't on the floor, Jared just looks absolutely amazing out there. Austin Reeves has a lot of pressure to be the real 6-man and/or starting shooting guard on this team. D'Angelo Russell seems to be scoring the ball less and less, aggressively these days. And with that, Austin Reeves is going to need to be that number 3 or 4 or 5 guy. Austin Reeves, he's been getting a lot of hype. He's chasing that big bag, that big contract next season, and this is the offseason to prove it. I think he's like a little secret weapon. You put him in there, he gets a quick 9 points, you take him out. Austin Reeves, very talented, shifty young guard in today's league, and I'm really excited to watch the future of his career grow. The last team final one, the New Orleans Pelicans. My X factor for them is Trey Murphy. I think he's a great teammate to Zion, CJ, Brandon, and Jonas. He stretches the floor extremely well. He shoots around 40% from three, but if that doesn't dip and he looks naive out there, or if that does dip and he looks naive out there, I think things are going south fast for New Orleans. I think that they need Trey Murphy to be shooting the ball extremely efficiently and with good volume too. I hate those games where it feels like it's just CJ and Brandon, taking every shot. This team needs to get a little more involved like they were last year with the series against the Suns. We saw everyone getting their touches and everyone doing a little bit of everything without Zion. And when/if Zion makes an appearance this postseason, it would be absolutely amazing to watch Trey Murphy be back in there, because Zion creates a plethora of shots that are open on the perimeter, and I think Trey Murphy is more than capable of knocking those down. But what do you guys think? Who is the biggest X factor? Which team has the most pressure this postseason? Let me know the answer to all that in the comments below. If you made it this far, I appreciate your support as always. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Stay happy, healthy, and blessed. Peace.